Today we are hearing this news, Rashford is not happy, Rashford is unhappy for God knows whatever reasons. He had to send someone from the reserves to go get his kit. I mean, what limit are we pushing our players to? I'm hopeful that we get the right players so that, we can fit his system rather than force fit it with the current group of players that we have.
Welcome to a new episode of Off the Bench with RGT. I have got a very special guest on the show today. He's one of my school juniors, and we will be discussing Erik Ten Hag's sacking and Ruben Amorim's new appointment as Man United head coach. But firstly, Vansh, great to have you on the show. How are you feeling?
Thank you so much, Ronak. Thanks for having me on your podcast. Honestly, just super excited to be here. And I mean, even before we kick things off, firstly, I want to give you a huge shout out for actually starting this and just the awesome job you've done so far. So kudos to that. And yeah, just super excited to jump in and discuss Man United and Erik Ten Hag today.
Perfect. Pleasure to have you, man. So let's jump right in, Vansh. First question to you is, what are your initial reactions to Ten Hag getting sacked?
I mean, it was inevitable. At least as us United fans, we kind of saw this coming given the recent run of results that we had, right? We saw the same story play out every match day, right? With zero to no progression or development whatsoever. Honestly, it was time to put an end to the misery, and I'm glad that it's just done right now. Having said that, the timing of this is something I was not too happy with, and it kind of, I feel personally, makes us really vulnerable at this situation.
Yeah.
Given, I mean, how quickly things have moved, right?
Yeah.
After his sacking.
Yeah.
It clearly goes to show that things were happening in the background. The management kind of knew that, Ruben will be the man to go to in case this doesn't work out.
Correct.
But I mean, fast forward to today, I just feel that, the Ineos board and the group could have just given Ten Hag a more respectful send-off after the FA Cup win last season.
Exactly.
The reason I'm saying this is, I feel, that would have just given the manager a full pre-season to come into the team with. He would have had time to spend with the players, and even we would have got him looped in the recruitment plans, right, with Dan Ashworth and team, so that he goes into the market, tries to get the kind of players he wants to.
Correct.
Right now we know that this manager that's coming in, right, he has his own style and brand of play, but to be honest, I'm not sure if our current squad, do we have the players to fit in his system, or are we going to be force fitting it?
Correct.
Or, I mean, this kind of leaves us in the situation that, we are going to be window shopping for another 2 or 3 transfers again, and this is just not ending since Ferguson left.
Correct. Absolutely.
So, I mean, the timing is bad, but it is what it is.
Correct, man. Absolutely bang on. I think they were talking to managers in the summer, and they should have just, sacked Ten Hag then and got whoever it was. Maybe if it was Amorim, so be it, because this is very messy in my opinion, and you expected better from Ineos at least. But I mean, let's see what it has in store for us. Let's talk a little bit more about Ten Hag, right, Vansh? What do you think were the main factors that led to his dismissal?
So, I mean, something that we can't ignore is the results. I mean, outside everything else. So we'll just first talk of the results before we can, deep dive into the other things that happened in the club.
Yeah.
We finished 8th last season, some 35 plus points behind Champion City, right? If we talk of this season, we are already, say, 1/4 into the Premier League, having played 9 games, and we are 14th in the league, right? Unheard of, like absolutely unheard of.
Yeah.
The third worst attacking team in terms of goals. Probably, I think only Southampton and Crystal Palace have scored fewer goals than us, right? It's a joke at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, even if the results were, everything else was fine, right? The results alone would have just got him sacked.
Correct.
I mean, I don't even want to move into the other things, but sadly, the situation with Ten Hag and United is that was far beyond the results alone, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing that we've all seen was very poor player management, right? And man management. If you go back into the Fergie eras or the successful eras of United, right, and you hear the likes of a Giggsy or even a Beckstock, they just keep on saying that one thing over and over again, is the kind of relationship he had with all of these players, not on the pitch, but what it was off the pitch, right? And those guys wanted to give their life for him for those 90 minutes on the ground.
Correct.
Today we are hearing this news week in and week out from the Sky journalists saying Rashford is not happy, Rashford is unhappy for God knows whatever reasons. We've seen the kind of treatment De Gea got, right? He was made to train alone outside Ronaldo, Sancho. I mean, the list goes on. Harry Maguire was stripped out of his captaincy. Not like Harry Maguire was performing any better. But I mean, he was the club captain at that point, right? And that needed to be respected above anything else.
Correct.
And things just weren't managed. I just recently read a story and it was shocking that when Ronaldo was banished from the dressing room because he apparently refused to come on onto some game, I think against Spurs or something later on, towards the 80th or 90th minute, he was not allowed to enter the dressing room, and for one day to train with the reserves, he had to send someone from the reserves to go get his kit. I mean, what limit are we pushing our players to, man? I mean, it's Cristiano Ronaldo at the end of the day. We begged him to come back to our club. He came for a bigger reason, right? He didn't have to come to United having proven everything to everyone in the world. And this is the kind of treatment that you're going to get. You've anyway lost the dressing room. Now you're losing out on the senior players. Things had to go south, right? He didn't have the team behind him. He didn't have the training methodologies, what became a big problem, apparently, right? We heard seniors complaining about, the intensity and the frequency of these high intensive trainings that kind of added to the long list of injuries that we already had. Poor in the media. I mean, if you look at the standards of what a United manager brings, right? Saying those 3 or 4 things over and over again, he became like a meme. And I know the results aren't going your way, but I mean, you can't portray yourself and the club the way he did. It was actually shambolic. It was very poor to see. Absolutely poor.
2 points I completely pick up, and I would like to add my points on as well. One is, I feel like whenever United performed badly, his method of treating or rather punishing the players was extra training, extra running and all of that. But I feel these guys play so much football now and train so much, that is not the right way to deal with things, in my opinion, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's what led to the millions of injuries we had last season. Because every time we supposedly performed badly and lost, they were called in the next day and trained and asked to train twice that day, which in my opinion is ridiculous. And the other thing that I found very strange, yes, first year I can understand him in the press conferences saying it's part of a process. I can understand partially second year as well. But this year, I'm sorry, the process, it cannot still be a process, is what I'm trying to say. Like you get backed this summer again with 5 world-class players. Yes, I understand you've not had a left fullback fit for a while, but Mazraoui and Dalot are more than capable of playing there. Or promote youth, play Harry Amas. So you cannot be blaming injuries and saying that it's part of the process even this year. Like these 9-10 games this season has been shambolic. I haven't seen a single game where he's kind of, had everyone going according to his game style, and Barnsley 7-0 does not count naturally. So that's what was really, I would say, sad, because I wanted him to succeed, if I'm honest with you. I felt like since Ferguson, at least when he came in, the aura he brought, the changes he made, I had a feeling he would succeed. And another reason why I wanted him to stay was because I wanted some longevity, right? I wanted some time given to him, because you've seen the likes of Arteta, Klopp, who survived the first few years that have been really difficult and then eventually make it. But I mean, nothing was improving. If I saw one sign of improving, I can understand, but that wasn't happening.
No, absolutely right. And longevity is something that even kind of all United fans kind of seeked, and he kind of fooled us into believing that he is the one, right? Because he actually came with the portfolio or the accolades to kind of show that he might just do the job for us.
Correct.
But sadly it didn't. And like you rightly said about the training methods and going super intense, just want to point out one thing that I've particularly seen about Liverpool this year and how they've contained their long list of injuries. Look at Trent, right? If this was like one of Klopp's seasons of Trent and the number of games that they're playing, probably would have seen Trent play like 60-70 odd minutes, have Bradley and already seen him injured. With that content style of playing and not going all out with like a 90-minute hard press, right? They just look like a so much better and in control team, and I kind of don't see them fall apart or get injured the way they have previously, or even like the other clubs will previously do, right? Correct. I mean, in this current season.
Correct. Vansh, moving on, I also thought that lately, just before he got the sack, I mean, after the last international break, I feel his tactics and game model just went for a toss, whatever that was. And the reason I say that is because, after the Fenerbahce game, he was asked about his starting lineup and he said that he didn't want to play 4 attackers because it was an away game in Europe. And he played Mazraoui in the number 10 position after harping all summer about how Amad Diallo can play in the number 10 position and Joshua Zirkzee being a 9.5. So, what are your thoughts on that? That was a little absurd, right? The last few weeks.
I mean, like you rightly said, right? He was kind of losing the plot. Something similar to what I'd seen back in the day, right? This was some FA Cup fixture back in, I think, 2007, 8, 9. I might be completely wrong with the year. But I remember when United fielded, or Ferguson fielded, I think 7 defenders to play an Arsenal. And we somehow came out with the result beating them 2-0, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, that was a super different story compared to what we are seeing today. There was no reason for him to play him at a 10. If you were so scared going into Europe, you play a 5-man defense, right? Rather than sending in your fullback as a number 10 with zero creativity, zero vision. He was so lost, didn't know where to be.
Exactly.
Higher up the pitch or come down, protect yourself from vacant spaces in the middle, which we've seen throughout the season, right?
Yeah.
He was just all over the place, and actually I've seen that a lot with Zirkzee, right? I feel that guy has something in him, but he doesn't know what to do on the pitch.
Yeah.
Is he supposed to just play those quick 1-2s? Is he supposed to be in the box when the ball is being delivered from the wing, which he's always absent from?
Yeah.
So I mean, people don't know what to do. The system is changing so often, or he's trying to make it more fluid than it actually should be. Even that people are lost without knowing what to do.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the thing that we've seen very successful about all successful teams are they don't change the 11 much, right? And moreover, they don't change the system at all.
Yeah.
That player is always replaced for a like for like.
Yeah.
Right? But here, week in and week out, you would first see a Rashford trying to outperform a Garnacho on the left, then Garnacho trying to outperform Rashford on the left, till you gave in that, okay, only one of them will play on the left and the other has to play on the right.
Correct.
Right? Similarly, this just has gone on and on. We saw Dallo start at the left and Mazraoui on the right. Right now, you're seeing Mazraoui on the left and Dallo on the right. I have no clue what's happening.
You know what?
Right? I don't know what's the thinking, logic of all of this.
No, one more thing, Vansh, which I found very strange. All good teams have a consistent back four, and their central defenders are never changed in game. We have done that, I think, 10 times in this season already, right? So many times he just takes Martinez and Dillet off and gets Maguire and Johnny Evans on, or Lindelof on, and it's not because of injury. If it's because of injury, I understand it. But I feel your centre backs cannot be changed in game. Like, that's just ridiculous. How are you going to get your game model in place then?
Absolutely, and you'd see this happen like in the 80th, 85th minute. These guys are cold. They don't have the match intensity going on.
Yeah.
And they're just put in to like defend 5 and 7 minutes. And from a game that you've been controlling for large parts of the game, now you're in that shell where you've just decided that, okay, I'm going to be right in front of goal defending for the next 10 minutes for no reason.
Correct.
Right? You just handed the ball to the other team saying, go take a shot at us.
Correct.
And more often than not, we've come out the poor or the losing side, right?
Correct.
I mean, this is one stat I was reading some time back. It's shocking, right? Where it said our Fergie time winners have converted into Ten Hag time losses. Because 7 out of his 27 losses actually came in the 90th minute in the Premier League.
Yeah.
He has the highest loss percentage in the 90th minute in the Premier League history. I mean, it's just taken him 2.5 years to do that.
Bro,
this is all down to all of this.
Yeah, we've not been able to close out games so many times. It happened last season also, it's happened this season as well. And that's something which I completely blame the coach for. I feel you have to teach the players how to, hold it out for a couple of minutes. And it's against Brighton as well. Like, come on, that last minute was just ridiculous. We have to learn how to close out games, and we've not done that. And who do you blame for that? You have to blame the coach more than the players, at least. I'm not saying the players aren't to be blamed. They are absolutely to be blamed. And what annoys me is that whenever the new manager comes in, there's like a new manager bounce. So where was all of this earlier? So players are to be blamed as well, but they need to be asked to do or rather play in a certain way, and that's something which I didn't see in 2.5 years, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I mean, we all expecting some ownership from the players, right? Because when you kind of needed him the most. We've seen the players also fail.
Yeah.
But then this has happened over a period of time, right? This is accumulated, where we earlier spoke of how he's lost the dressing room, how he's lost the players to play for him.
Correct.
You can't expect these guys to come and suddenly, do magic for you. They aren't robots. They're human beings at the end of the day.
Correct.
They first need to be treated that way. You need to get your relationship in place, and then you ask them to go that extra mile for you.
Correct.
Right? Without having anything else in place, coming and expecting these guys to do some sort of magic, it's absolutely unreal. I mean, even with Ruben coming in, it's not that, I'm going to expect United to suddenly finish in the top 4 or even Europa seems far-fetched, to be honest, at this point.
Yeah.
Right? Given the kind of teams we have in the Premier League recently.
Correct.
I mean, it's far-fetched, but at least we will expect a better process, methodology, and the way we are going to take up each game.
Correct.
More than anything else.
Correct. Okay, Vansh, let's move on to the positive side of things now. Enough of Ten Hag frustration from both of us, I feel. Ruben Amorim coming in, he has really done well for Sporting. I feel like he is one of the big managers coming out of the new era of managers. Your Xabi Alonso's, Thiago Motta's, Mikel Arteta's. Amorim has done a fantastic job at Sporting as well. So what are your thoughts on his appointment?
Super excited for the only reason that this guy has clarity, right? And he has a style that defines his way of football. His brand of football is a slightly unique one from the ones that we've seen, with very few but only modern managers kind of playing that style.
Yeah.
And I just love the fact that he so believes in his style, right? It's because I've seen people fade away if it doesn't work out, but he's so adamant on playing it the way he wants to play it, where it is not a rigid system, a rigid 3-4-3, but it's rather a more fluidic 3-4-3 going forward, which converts into a more content 5-2-3 maybe while defending, which kind of holds the team together, right? With good three central holding midfielders, and you have your two pivots, or maybe one pivot, however you'd want to play given the team we are playing against, right? It gives you a lot of solidity. Something that we've missed. We've just seen open gaps, like we had no players in the middle of the pitch for the last 2 years, right? You put in a good ball from your defense and then you would be right at goal.
Correct.
I mean, that thing needs to stop, and I just want to give him some time. The reason is because, if we go back 2.5 years ago, we bought in a Dutch manager who had won the league twice, who had a crazy run in Europe, right? Beating, say, the likes of a Madrid and Juventus to get into the semi-final. We all were super excited.
Correct.
He comes from a similar profile, super dominant in Portugal. 9 out of 9 the last time I checked, with a 28-point goal difference. Ridiculous stats, right? He's won probably 120 out of his 150 games. That's above a 70% win record. Again, it's unreal. But we all know the Premier League is a different jungle altogether, right? The best of the best can come and fade away. So not to put too much pressure on him because of what he's bringing to us. But at the same time, super optimistic, super hopeful to see this change happen. And so much so because of his style of play that, it's not just him in Portugal, but when I look at the 3-4-3 system, right? And I look at Xabi Alonso's Bayer Leverkusen, or I even look at how Inter Milan kind of set up with a huge focus on how your wing backs are playing. They're so solid defensively and so good going forward. Beautiful to watch and very stable at the back. I mean, that's something that we United fans desperately want to see. Forget results, to be honest, right now. I just want to see good football. The results will follow in, and we cannot force that, but
Absolutely, Vansh. I've been watching a lot of Napoli games this season because of McTominay. I mean, I love the guy, so I've been watching a lot of their games. And Conte does exactly that. When he's attacking, you have a fluid 3-4-3 formation. But when he's defending off the ball, right, it's 5-3-2 solid. You cannot break them down. It's unreal, and which is why they're top of the Serie A as well. The 5 at the back and the 3 in the middle is just ridiculously solid. So I think that's what Amorim kind of wants. And I feel like he has players for that. I mean, De Ligt and Lenny Yoro should be back soon, and Martinez, and then you have Ugarte and Mainu potentially in the middle. That should allow him to play his way in a very successful manner. But again, we have to wait and watch, I guess.
Yeah, but I just feel with this current system, right, I think our next signings will again be focused more towards our defenders, because playing 4 at the back initially, right, and now suddenly switching to 5 at the back, I ideally want 2 players for each position, right? I'm not sure if we have a like-for-like replacement for Martinez. When I'm saying Martinez, do we have a left-footed centre-back to fill in? Because forget Luke Shaw and hoping that, he can fill in those 4-5 games. I don't know where he is, where is he hiding, what is the kind of injury he's had, how long will it take for him to recover.
Yeah.
I love that guy from the bottom of my heart,
Same.
right? As a United fan,
Yeah.
really love him.
Yeah.
Probably had the potential to become one of the greatest English fullbacks after Ashley Cole that we've seen.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I mean, it's just too much of disappointment. And I feel that, putting in Dallo and Mazraoui through the stress that they are going to go with a number of games, week in and week out, is going to come and bite us back in the ass one day.
Yeah.
If we don't have the right replacements for him. For both of them. In fact, they could both work as a right and as a left, but I feel need of the hour is to get like some solid left-footed wing backs. I mean, just look at the other teams. Look at the likes of a Granaldo at Leverkusen or even at Inter Milan. What's that guy's name at left? DiMarco.
Oh, DiMarco.
Right?
Oh my God. His foot is something else, man.
They are on fire. The attack is always built from there. If there is no DiMarco, Inter Milan is quiet.
Yeah, true.
They are looking for that long ball where he's making that run, eyes closed. It's trusted that he is making that run, and when he gets the ball, he's gonna fire that ball in. Right? It's gonna be a good delivery, and you go attack it, chase it, and put that ball behind the goal.
Yeah.
So we need people who are gonna be damn good of smacking that dead ball and putting in those crosses in.
Yeah.
To get the system in place. So I'm hopeful that we get the right players so that we can fit his system rather than force fit it with the current group of players that we have.
Correct.
And I think that might be our biggest challenge in January.
Absolutely. And Vansh, I feel one good thing at least the new management have been wanting to do since they've come in is they want a head coach. They do not want a manager. And I think there is a difference between the two, if you get what I mean. A head coach will be required to coach the players irrespective of the recruitment. In a way, what I'm trying to say is that it will not be a manager driven recruitment system, which is what it's been at least for the last 2.5, 3 years. He's just bought players who he's kind of coached before and who understand his ideas. But I feel with Amorim and going forward, if it's the head coach model, it becomes more like maybe a Manchester City. We'll get in players, of course, who you like, but also players who you can coach and play your model, which Ten Hag really failed at, in my opinion, right? I don't think there was a single player that he made better. Okay, Garnacho, yes, partially, I would say. Rashford in that one season. But Garnacho is also talent, man. That guy is talented. I'm not saying it's all
raw talent,
right? Yeah, it's raw talent. So I feel Amorim will do that, and that leads me on to my next point. He's promoted youth beautifully at Sporting. And to be a manager or rather a head coach at a club like United, you need to be able to do that. What are your thoughts on that? I feel he's going to promote a lot of youth. Harry Amas might actually be a great wing back.
So he will actually, I'll break this into two parts. The first part is, again, this is more maybe to a question to you and your thoughts that I would want to hear.
Yeah.
Is we are hearing again rumors or whatever, his style of play is that, when it comes to recruitment, it seems that he really wants to get involved in like the entire discussion of I want to pick X, Y, and Z so that they force fit that system.
Yeah.
And now given the structure that we recently made at United, right, where we didn't want that entire authority to fall just with that one person, where you go and pick X, Y, and Z like we've seen over the last 5 to 6 years.
Correct.
How is that going to span out? Is that relation with the others going to get affected in any way?
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah.
But yeah, to answer the second half, which is where the youth comes in, right? I'm absolutely confident that he will be working with a lot of young players. We've seen that in Sporting. If we start taking names, the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And the rest of Europe is testament to the players that they've made, and in fact sold to the majority of them too. So he's very comfortable working with the talent. He tries to nurture them, brings the best out of them, and to be honest, as a manager, that is one of your top most priority important roles, because you are not always given the best, right? Again, like going back to a Ferguson made the players we had. We actually didn't have so many special players if you look at the likes of a Nicky Butt, etc., right?
Yeah.
But they were all utility players on the pitch. They knew exactly what they need to do.
Correct.
You don't have to look the most out of flair and flamboyant player on the pitch all the time, right? You have a job, you have a role to do. You go and perform it to your best, and more often than not, you get the job done.
Correct.
And this is exactly what I hope him to bring to this team, right?
Yeah.
You look at the way our youth teams are functioning. The under 21 and under 18s are on fire,
Flying,
right? They're absolutely flying, and if they are doing so well and this doesn't translate into performances into our senior team in the next 3 or 4 years, it's a failure on just the senior division or the senior team on how it's being managed.
Absolutely.
There is no other reason.
Yeah.
We don't even need that many signings. The last 2-3 signings that we've got, I mean, the big names are all from our team. The likes of the Garnacho, the Menus that you just mentioned, right? Unreal players for their age.
Yeah.
You cannot go into the market and find a player of that age with that quality right now. And if you do, you're going to end up paying 150 million or even higher than that.
Correct. Bang on.
Right? I'm super excited to even see the likes of this kid, the Chibo Obi Martin, right? Chido Obi Martin from Arsenal that they signed. Absolute freak. I was watching some highlights the other day. Bagged a hat trick in 10 minutes of the opening of a game, right? I mean, and he looks like he's playing alone on the pitch. The defenders are standing next to him and seeing him play. That guy's 16. It's unreal, and I really want to see him, and even the likes of that Senegal midfielder Kone. I'm not sure. Sekou Kone. Yeah, the likes of them to fall in, because see, as much as I love Menu just looked a little exhausted and depleted this year, man. Given the amount we played him, right?
So much, and England plays him every game as well.
And one thing that I kind of miss is when we are playing that hardcore number 6, right? The other midfielder needs to be a ball carrier. We've missed that. Pogba used to do it brilliantly, right? Where he used to just take the ball. I mean, the likes of a Declan Rice and all do it for Arsenal week in and week out. And United kind of miss it where, we are forced to either pass back or sideways, because through the pitch you don't have the legs to, take yourself through the middle. The likes of Kone, I'm very hopeful. Again, super optimistic. He's super young. But we need that kind of a player in our system. To give us that dynamic, that certain edge on the pitch. So that one question, Ronak, that I think we kind of overlooked, just gonna reiterate once again, is when we are talking of recruitment and appointments, right? We've heard with Ruben that, he really likes to get involved into that decision making progress. And when I say get involved, heavily involved, where he wants to be like the prime decision maker. Again, these are just reports that we're hearing from these journalists on Sky, etc. We don't know how it's going to turn out to be. But with the current structure that Ineos has put into place, right, to have a more defined structure wherein, all of the power is not just rest-sided with one person, do you think this is going to fall in well with our current system, or are we going to see some sort of, a disparity between the manager and the board?
No, Vansh, I feel it will be very...
Given its early days.
Yeah, I feel it will be very different to what it was with Ten Hag. Ten Hag was very stubborn when it came to recruitment. I mean, you can say rightly so or wrongly so, however you want to put it. But I feel with Amorim, it will be slightly different. He will not be as rigid and stubborn as Ten Hag. What was frustrating with Ten Hag is, I would say more than 50% of the signings made over the last 3 years were players that he's coached before. And you don't see that. That's not a very good sign of a very good manager. I feel, at least when it comes to the recruitment side of things.
Absolutely.
If you see Pep, right, he's barely signed any players that he's coached before. But he's signed players of the profile for his gameplay, which is what I feel Ruben will do as well. I'm not saying he will be completely, quiet and be like, get me whoever you want and I'll make him, like, get me Dwight McNeil and I'll make him, I don't know, Guacores from Ohio. Whoever, right, exactly. So, it's not going to be like that. I feel it will be more balanced right now than Ten Hag, than when it was with Ten Hag, because Ten Hag was like very rigid. He was like, I want this player, I want this player, I want this player. Like, honestly, yes, Mazraoui has turned out to be a great signing. De Ligt has turned out to be a great signing. But I don't know, were they all led and driven by the recruitment team? I have my doubts, if I'm honest with you. So I feel Amorim that way will work better with the structure that we have, and which is why he's also got the title of head coach. Clearly there was some discussion around that. There must have been, right? And he must have agreed on certain points.
Absolutely.
And another thing which I feel will be different with Amorim is, with Sporting, if you realize over the years, they've lost Bruno Fernandes, Nuno Mendes, João Palhinha, and the list goes on, right? But somehow Amorim has made the players that have come in to play his way. So whether that's by promoting youth or buying players with smaller names, like look what he's done with their striker, man. It's insane. The guy used to he used to play for Coventry City, man. That's like a championship team, and now he scored, I don't know, 50 goals in 2 seasons or something like that. So
I think he scored 4 last night.
Exactly, he scored 4 last night, and I saw the goals. One was a penalty, but one, like, he's a bullet, man. Like, I don't want to get too excited, but if we get him in the next couple of years, it will be absolutely game changing. Or unless he makes Højlund like him, because Højlund has very, very similar traits to Gyökeres. So that's what I mean with Amorim. It will be slightly different, and I feel he will be more focused on making players play his way than being rigid. Like, at times you're buying Delete Martinez, saying that they play my way, my style of football, and then starting Johnny Evans at centre back. So I really didn't get the match. As much as I love Johnny Evans, and I think he was a blessing, that signing was God's gift to us, thank God for it. But that principle just goes out of the window, right? Which is why I feel Amorim will be slightly different in that way.
No, he is. He absolutely is. That's so rightly said. But my only worry is the rest of Europe is not going to sit and see Gyökeres just put in those goals week in and week out. Arsenal apparently have inquired about him already, right? And I'm sure there are other clubs who are monitoring him too. I just have that fear that come this January, he's going to straight go for him. And I'm not sure if that is our right way, given we've just gotten a Zirkzee who doesn't know what to do at this club. Højlund, who I see immense potential in. I think it was the Brentford game where, I mean, every single touch was on point. His turnarounds, his link-up play, him dropping deep to, let the wingers make those runs. It was just, I mean, it was probably his best performance. Had one goal to show for it also. So, I mean, we have potential to grow within. I don't know if when a Gyökeres comes in, what does that leave Højlund with? Because, obviously, like you said, some players or some managers have a way of working, and if he's going to fit into the system that well, we don't also want to be that minded that, we don't want to get in a player just because you managed him previously and life is going to be easy and blah, blah, blah.
Absolutely.
If it's going to show results tomorrow, go for it. There is no issues whatsoever. But how does it leave us when we go into the market? Because do we need a striker first in the form of a Gyökeres, or do we actually want to go and build our defense and have the right backups for the right places, so that if an injury comes tomorrow, we are well equipped to deal with it, than to go and have an entire season saying we didn't have a squad, so we are here, we didn't have this, so we are here. Because done with excuses. It's 10 years since we won the league last, right? So I mean, we just want to talk results from now, no matter what the issue is with the team.
Great. Okay, Vansh, we've had, 10 years of disappointment, like you rightly said earlier. Quick question to you, right? Ten Hag harped about how he's won 2 trophies in 2 years, and thankful to him for that. I completely agree with that. We had not won a trophy for, donkey's years before. He kind of won us the Carabao Cup a couple of years back. But asking you as a United fan, what do you want United to be like in the future? Progression year on year in the league with a direct proper style of play, or do you want us to win an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup every year and being flaky in the league?
So see, we have to see progression on a week in, week out basis firstly, right? But having said that, we are not going to be the next Arsenal, nor can we be the next Liverpool and show progression for 30 years and have no titles to show for. I'm sorry, I'm going to get a lot of hate from our Arsenal boys and Liverpool boys who are much better off today. I'm not going to debate that. But as United fans, and if we're looking at something for the future, you have to have titles to show for. And again, when I'm saying titles, League Cups and FA Cups do not justify it. It's okay, you have some silverware to show for, but you cannot be content being a United fan or a United manager or a United team just winning the FA Cup or the Carling. You need to be fighting for the Premier League year in and year out, and you have to be in the mix of the Champions League. Winning the Champions League, again, it's not as easy as you kind of say it. So even if you don't win in 5 years or 10 years, it's not like you failed, but to be in the mix of things, to play that semi-final game, to make it to a final, probably have that fear and be respected across Europe in itself is a lot. So long way to go. We will need titles definitely, but more than anything, we need to be in the mix of things. We cannot be languishing and having conversations with the likes of the Aston Villas and the Spurs of the world. I'm really sorry.
No, absolutely, man. Like, honestly, that's what I want as well. I want to see progression, and I want to see good football, man. Like, I feel like every 2-3 years we change our style of football, and it's just everything's, gone out of the window, all the work done over the last few years. So I just want one style of football, and we stick to that. Like, one thing, I laugh at Spurs every time they lose after winning 2 games in a row, they lose the 3rd one. But at least Ange is true to his methods. I'm not saying he's a great manager, world-class manager, but when he loses or wins, they play the same way. And that's honestly what I want. I don't mind losing if you're playing the same way. But we are not even doing that. We just, like that Aston Villa game a couple of weeks back, because he was under immense pressure, he just said, it, I'm going to like park the bus, right? And that's what he did. And I was like, Aston Villa were there for the taking. They had just beaten Bayern Munich.
Absolutely.
They were playing so badly, and he just harped on how Bruno Fernandes had that one chance that went off the bar. But I'm like, dude, you could have gone for the game and honestly beaten Villa very easily. But that's what I want, honestly.
Yeah, more often than not, I'm seeing smaller clubs do that against United. That 20 minutes into the game, where they come planning that will be slightly cautious.
Yeah.
They start with a low block, and then with that low block, see that United aren't creative enough and just are passing the ball left to right, and within themselves they have some sort of a motivation that just tells them that let's just go take a chance at it, and somehow they come away with some point or something.
Exactly.
I mean, that fear is absolutely gone out of United, and a lot of this is like what we earlier spoke to of lack of controlling games. Not being confident to close out a game, playing a solid 90 minutes, right? We will play a very beautiful 20-30 minute spells, right? There are those sudden transitions of moving from the back to the front, which look very beautiful sometimes. But the problem is that's just 2 minutes of the 90 minutes are on the pitch for.
Correct.
Right? And it doesn't translate to like real points and winning a game. We want this to be more consistent. I'm okay to see slightly lesser attractive football to the eye, if be so in the beginning, but we have more stability and a more clear-cut plan. I think that is what something all of us will collectively, kind of are more keen to see going forward under Ruben.
Absolutely. Great Vansh. Pleasure to have you today. It was great fun discussing United. Let's see what the future
Likewise.
has. Any closing comments from you?
Just good luck to actually Rude. Super happy to see Rude at the wheel, to be honest. I know it's going to be a short stint but all United fans will love him a lot. We got 5 goals out of nowhere. We are entertained, if nothing else, against Leicester, right? And we have Chelsea this weekend. So I don't know if the results might go against us, but I just feel that it's going to be a more stronger and more determined United that we're going to see from now till the end of the season.
Great. Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for your time, Vansh.
Likewise. Had a great time, Ronak, and see you soon.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.